And welcome in to be our guest. You know, one of the biggest things that happens in our life is the fact that one of our loved ones eventually passes away. Now, it can be expected in the case where they've been sick and they may be sick for a while and they know that they're going to pass away. It's still hard, even when you know that. But what's more important is that when somebody dies unexpectedly, that is a trauma. But there can be a second trauma then, because you have to figure out, usually in a short period of time, what were their final requests and what do you need to do with your loved one. I have with me today from Dignity Memorial, Heather Jones Butler.
That's it.
We got that hyphenated in there.
It's not hyphenated, but it should be.
It should be. Okay, it's the way it is.
It's the way it is.
Great. And you're with Dignity Memorial, and obviously in this area you have 4 funeral homes?
We do. We have 4 funeral homes and 2 cemeteries in the Montgomery-Prattville area. Mm-hmm. And we've had them for quite some time. We have Greenwood Cemetery and Alabama Heritage Cemetery is ours. And then we also have Rideouts Brown Service in Prattville, Alabama Heritage Funeral Home, Leak Memory Chapel, which is the most popular around here. Most people recognize Leak Memory. And then Whitechapel is our oldest location. So we have quite a vast array of locations and opportunities here.
But as I mentioned on the onset, a lot of times a person has a loved one that will unexpectedly pass away, and then all of a sudden, it's a shock.
It is a shock.
And then say, this has happened, now we have to figure out, what are we going to do? You don't have 2 months to say, okay, we're going to put the person to the side and then figure this out. Usually it has to happen pretty quick.
It feels like 2 minutes. It feels like 2 minutes. It's not even close to 2 months. It feels like 2 minutes. And there are quite a few things that go into planning funeral and final arrangements, right? And one of the things that I tell my families that I'm working with is no one knows what you want unless you tell them, right? And I also say a little bit, my daddy was military, and he always taught us if you see a boulder coming down a hill, you got 2 choices. You can get out of the way or you can try and catch it. And I'm not really big on catching things.
No.
Not really big on catching boulders.
Amen.
So one of the things that we work to do is help everyone get out of the way of that boulder way before they need it. Because if we don't want to talk about our eventual passing, our children really don't want to talk about it. And our grandchildren really, really
or your spouse
don't want to talk. Or our spouse. That's right. Those that love us the most, it's the last thing that they want to talk about. So it becomes our responsibility to kind of walk into that together when we talk about pre-planning and pre-arranging. So when someone passes away, our goal at Dignity is that your family doesn't even make a single phone call when it comes to handling business. When someone passes away, your nurse or doctor, whoever that is, actually begins that process by making a phone call. And our teams come in and handle all of the business. And within about 24 hours, your family's meeting with one of our licensed directors to kind of work through every single choice you may ever expect to choose or not.
Right. And of course, if you have not pre-planned this, it can be even more trauma.
Trauma is a really great word for it.
Yes, because you're having to do make so many different decisions in a short period of time.
And you're heartbroken.
Yes.
You're absolutely heartbroken while you do it, right? The majority of spouses that come in have spent 30, 40, 50 years holding the hand of the one that they love the most. And they just spent 2 or 3 weeks in a hospital holding that same hand.
Right.
And now they've got to come in and sit at a table with some of the kindest people I've ever met, but for anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 to 5 hours, making decisions starting with casket choice, to property if you've never purchased it before, to what kind of music, what does mama want to wear, what kind of flowers, all of these things. That feels exhausting. And then at the end of it all, you're slapped with a really big bill.
And you say a key word there, property, because you are purchasing a piece of property.
You're purchasing rights to a piece of property.
Okay, rights. You don't actually have the deed.
That's right.
But you have the rights to be able to be there, almost like renting the space.
That's exactly, and that's a gift. That's exactly right. And it's a gift because we, with all of our cemeteries, we take care of the grounds. We take care of the ants. We take care of the weeds. We take care of the grass. We take care of maintaining it now and forever with our perpetual care, right? You'll see a couple of other smaller cemeteries in the area that are not upheld as well, right next to some of our locations. And you'll notice what perpetual care looks like going on through the years. Greenwood has been open since 1901, and you wouldn't know. Based on the way that our superintendent, who's celebrating 29 years with us, really takes great care of it and keeps it maintained pretty well.
So basically, you do have your site, but then the important thing is you've got to get to that site.
That's right.
And have whatever kind of a service you want. And it's best if you know about that service. So you actually have a planning guide too, don't you?
We do. We have a planning guide and a team of 10 planning professionals in Montgomery and Prattville that work together to go out into our community, and we run dinner seminars to talk about pre-planning, right? So when we talk about pre-planning funerals, we're not just saying, let's pre-plan so that you can do it your way, right? We're pre-planning so that your family doesn't have to make these decisions, because no one can tell me whether I want to be cremated or buried, right? And one of the most traumatic things we encounter is a family who goes to have mama buried traditionally with a casket and a piece of property, and then they figure out that it costs on average about $15,000 to $18,000 to take care of that. And they look up at us and they say, well, what about cremation, right? And maybe mama has something in her soul and spirit for 29, 30 years that said, I don't want to be cremated. But we don't know. And now our hands are tied because it's a financial burden.
Right.
So now we're heartbroken. Now we're burdened. And now we have to make a decision that we might wrestle with for 10 to 20 years, wondering whether mama's happy.
Yeah.
Or
and
would be
and
happy.
basically, if mama was pre-planned and had already purchased the space and purchased the casket and purchased everything, there's no
nothing
decision.
left to do. I worked with a family about 3 weeks ago who pre-planned everything in 1952. Their property, their opening and closings, their casket, their funeral, everything entirely paid for. When their family came in, because great-grandmama had finally passed away, when she passed away, they give us $50 for death certificates only, and that was it. She had everything taken care of, had a whole box that said, open this box when I die, and left it for her family, and they were so delighted. They came in with checkbooks ready to make them.
So for our viewers, if they want to get a hold of you, they can just call either any one of the funeral homes.
That's right. So
And we'll put some phone numbers up.
Yeah,
there
I would
too.
love that. I would love that.
Yeah, and then there's no charge to come in and have a visit
It
with
is
you.
an absolute free consultation with me or any member of my team.
And then what you wind up with is you can get a planning guide too that you can take with you, and then fill it in and then bring it back and say, I think this is what we want to do.
That's right. And after you fill that out and bring it back, I'll sit with you and I'll say, I love that this is on paper. Let's pay for it, right? Let's secure it and make sure, because what we do is we grandfather in all of our costs. Once you contract with us on the day that you take care of it, there's no hidden cost after that.
Right.
You're always paying down what you put in. So you're always having a less balance as you work towards it.
Good.
Protecting your family and you.
Well, thank you so much. And again, it's not an easy thing to be able to talk about, but eventually each one of us is going to be facing it, so it's best to be prepared. Move out of the way of the boulder coming down the mountain. And we'll be right back right after this.